Awesome. Great. Perfect. Awesome. So thank you so much for joining me, Tia. I would love to just start out with hearing a bit about your career trajectory. Where did you start and how did you land at AEC Unites?
Sure. So first, thank you so much for this opportunity, Mariah, to share my story and to share more about the work at AEC Unites. So I started in the association nonprofit space about 20 years ago, but I've recently found my passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and particularly architecture, engineering, and construction. And so I led DEI efforts very early on for the Associated Builders and Contractors. That was back in 2015.
Wow.
And that experience really sparked my curiosity around creating equitable pathways and construction at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually led to me transitioning to their full-time DEI director.
Wow.
And so along that way, I discovered my love for working with minority contractors and, their creativity and resilience and innovation that constantly inspired me. And I also really fell in love with the workforce development piece. We hear often about the labor shortage, particularly in construction. And
Yep.
so I just fell in love with the passion about ensuring everyone has access to opportunities, specifically young people in underrepresented communities. I know for me, AEC or construction wasn't a career path that my parents advocated for. But now that I'm in that space and I realize the amazing opportunities, I feel like it's my responsibility to share what I know and really pull folks up as I climb and make sure everyone understands the importance of the industry and the role that it plays and the work that we do daily.
Right. Excellent. That's so cool. And so if construction wasn't necessarily envisioned for you, how did you stumble upon it?
Yes. So I stumbled upon it working for the Associated Builders and Contractors back in 2015.
Right.
And so that's an association that represents 20,000 merit shop construction contractors.
Mm-hmm.
And then I stumbled across DEI and really found my burning passion.
Yeah.
And so it was the work, although I don't wear a hard hat daily, it was really the work behind the scenes supporting the industry.
Yeah.
Whether that's in business development opportunities and helping them find, diverse suppliers, or maybe that is with, workforce development trends and finding community partners. And so I think I really found my love in that space. And so after ABC, I transitioned to an incredible opportunity that I'm in now to lead AEC Unites and really build an organization from the ground up. It was an opportunity to shape the mission and lead with purpose and really make it my own. I was really excited about that.
Yeah.
And so was also really excited about the backing and the leaders and the founders of AEC Unites, are some of the largest, most influential leaders in this space.
Okay.
Who are really committed to change. And I was really, really intrigued by that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's so awesome. Yeah, you're right. It's not the typical wear a hard hat every day kind of role, but definitely so needed, so necessary. Such a big piece of what we need in the industry right now. So
yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. Awesome. And so speaking of AEC Unites, what is the mission?
Sure. So our mission at AEC Unites is to provide intentional opportunities for Black talent and Black-owned businesses. And so we have two focus areas, Mariah. It's talent, and that's really diversifying the talent pipeline in architecture, engineering, and construction because of the lack of representation and the labor shortage. But then also the other side of the work that we do is really equipping and empowering Black-owned businesses in the space, helping to identify intentional opportunities and lucrative revenue streams to help them scale and win work ultimately. So really that's the mission behind AEC Unites and the work that we do.
Great. Love it. When was AEC Unites founded and where does it serve?
Sure. So AEC Unites conversations about AEC Unites started back in 2020, shortly after the murder of George Floyd.
Right.
And our organization was founded by Daryl McKissick. And I have to encourage you to strongly Google Daryl and her family's rich history in the architecture, engineering, construction industry. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was really fueled by Daryl's passion on using her network and her industry peers and leveraging her resources to really drive positive change. And so
Mm-hmm.
conversations started in 2020. I started in 2023,
Mm-hmm.
and we officially launched in October of 23. So we are fairly new. We're almost 2 years since the start of the organization.
Yeah.
But the conversation started back in 2020, and we formed officially in 2023.
Great. That's awesome. Yeah. I'd assumed for some reason it had been around for so
No,
long. Like everything
we're
looks.
new.
Oh wow, I love that. I had no idea it also stemmed from like George Floyd's murder. Like what an awful, awful tragedy, but I'm so glad something so great could come from it. That's
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was that, and I think it was the racial wealth gap,
yeah.
right, and some of the disparities and other and like and the particularly in the African American community.
Right.
And the board wanted to be really intentional about focusing on Black and African American, and and those in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was really, really intrigued by that intentionality, and I was really excited, or still am excited, to serve as its leader.
Right. That's awesome. And it was just the US that you guys serve as of now?
No, so our
Oh.
headquarters, our national office is in Washington, D.C. But yes, Mariah, it is just the United States. So we have national members throughout the entire U.S.
Mm-hmm.
I work out of the national office in D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
but we have members all over.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. So the US today, the world tomorrow. Got it.
Yes, yes, I like it.
Awesome. Yeah, the sky's the limit. That's perfect. Okay, great. Moving along. So, what specifically, Tia, does your role involve, and what does your day to day look like?
That's actually a great question. My day to day, I wear a lot of hats, not
I bet.
necessarily a hard hat, but I would say my day to day is a strategist, an
Mm-hmm.
advocate, a connector, an implementer. And my days range from meetings with members to, support maybe a project that they're bidding on, or
Yeah.
a meeting with a corporate partner
Mm-hmm.
who's interested in learning more about AEC Unites, or maybe it's navigating procurement.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it's mentoring students who are exploring
Oh, cool.
careers in this space. And so I also lead strategy development. I oversee all the programming and ensure we're moving our mission forward in measurable ways.
Okay, great. Yeah, so you're pulled in a ton of different directions, including in the media as well.
Yes, and media interviews. Can't forget, those are important.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, wow. Yeah, big job. Oh, my goodness. No wonder you took a vacation. I hope it was a nice one.
I need lots of time. It's always good to disconnect for a while, right? I think with
Yes.
any leader in this space, burnout is real, and I think it's important just to disconnect and regroup and come back
Yeah.
refreshed, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. You can't show up and do your best work like until you show up for yourself first, right? Like,
That is
yeah,
so very true.
yeah, I'm with you. All right, so would love to talk about specifically the disparity that we're seeing in the industry. So, what does the disparity between Black and white professionals in AEC look like today in pay or in representation?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great question. And I pulled some data points I'm going to reference because I want to make sure I get
Perfect.
them correct. So the disparities between Black and white professionals, particularly in architecture, engineering, construction, remain significant, I guess, in terms of representation and compensation.
Mm-hmm.
When we look at architecture, I pulled some data. So as of 2023, Black or African American individuals are amongst the most underrepresented group in architecture, making up approximately 1% of the architecture population. And that is a reference from NCARB. And so, we look at one making up less than 1% of the architecture population. We look at
Yeah.
construction. Black workers held only 7% of all AEC jobs, even though they represented 13% of all workers.
Mm-hmm.
And so, by contrast, white workers comprise 77% of the workforce, yet hold
Yeah.
87% of all construction jobs and 83% of architecture and engineering jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So there are definitely, I think we look at the labor shortage that continues to plague the construction industry in particular. And we look at the lack of representation as it relates to Black and African Americans, and diversity is the answer. Now more than ever, with this new political climate that we're all experiencing, the work has to continue. The intentionality around creating inclusive workplaces and work environments and job sites has to continue.
Yeah.
As it relates to compensation disparities, in 2023, the median weekly earnings for Black workers stood at $967 compared to $1,157 for white workers.
Oh, wow.
So definitely still plagued with the wage gap. And so these numbers continue to, I wouldn't say decline. I think it continues to be top of mind for us as an industry that's directly working to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's, there's a lot of reasons for this difference. And I think it comes down to education, experience, but not solely based on that. I think there are still a lot of systemic barriers and a lot of discriminatory practices happening in construction. And I think that's why initiatives like Construction Inclusion Week are so very important, because it is a call to action that we have to ensure that this industry is safe and inclusive of everyone.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot of work that has to happen in that space.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you guys are doing the work, and I'm glad that we can continue to like amplify what you guys are doing, because that's crazy. So
yeah, no, it's important. We're still a fairly new organization, as I mentioned, Mariah. So, any opportunities to amplify the work that we do. And I'm so excited that this is being recorded and possibly being used, for some other marketing and promo, because now more than ever, it's important for us to stay relevant. In full transparency, we've had some members who are wavering on their commitments as it relates to DEI for some reasons related to, maybe doing federal work or things like that. And just the uncertainty of not knowing, how this could impact them from a corporate perspective. But I will say that we've doubled down. We've increased our engagement and our outreach. And we're here for the long run. And so the call to action, I know we'll get to that a little bit later, is to join and support the work that we do at AEC Unites.
That's so great. I'm so glad you guys are so committed to the cause, because it is a long haul, but and we're not going to get there if people keep wavering or ignoring the disparities or trying to like conveniently like shove them aside. So I'm glad everybody's committed and sticking to it.
I would agree. And I think, it's hard to challenge the numbers,
Yes.
and I don't understand how, folks can just not look at the obvious, or maybe ignore what's so very obvious in this industry. And that's the lack of representation, and also access for Black owned businesses and, access to capital and some of those things that they struggle with. And so, yes, to your point, yes, we're doubling down.
Yeah, that's great. Just as an aside too, while I'm thinking about it, like we do a lot of articles about mental health in the space too. And the mental health culture in construction is just historically not it. Like you have to be really tough, and you can't like, incident report, and you can't be a wimp, and like that's kind of the culture. So if that's how they treat mental health, like I wonder what conversations around DEI look like on the ground, right? On the site.
Yeah. So. I will have to rave and highlight Construction Inclusion Week, because I know that they're rebranding and there's some new marketing materials, but there were safety talks and TED Talks around DEI and what that looks like in that environment, like on a job site.
Yeah.
And it has to remain top of mind, and we have to continue to move the needle forward. If not, I don't know what the future of this industry is going to look like, because we need everyone to build and to contribute for it to be profitable and successful, right?
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, exactly. Construction demand is not getting any smaller. So exactly, you're right.
It's not. And I know the backlog indicators are growing, and there's tons of backlog, work that needs to happen. And I mean, I still to this day, I think that diversity is the key to that, and encouraging, everyone from underrepresented groups to explore a career in this space and the opportunities. And that includes folks who want to go to college and folks who don't. I know there's tons of really, really amazing pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship programs for students that may not be interested in going that career path, as far as like college, that route. So there's just tons of opportunities in this space.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it doesn't really have to be like the barrier to entry that a lot of people perceive it to be. So
Mhm.
I'm glad the access is made even easier by you guys.
Yes, we're working diligently.
Awesome. All right. Where am I? Da, 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 disparity. So, okay, great. So, how exactly does AEC Unites facilitate opportunities for Black professionals and Black owned businesses?
Sure. So we work across two core areas, Mariah.
Mm-hmm.
As I mentioned before, our area, the two areas are business, and that's really empowering and supporting Black-owned businesses in this space.
Mm-hmm.
And the other side is talent. And so on the business side, we host pitch events. One of the great moments of my career was a Black business mixer that we facilitated actually during Construction Inclusion Week last October. And
Yeah.
we gave an opportunity to six of our members to really pitch their business. And we invited the who's who of the industry, the decision makers and the project executives. Um, we elevate supplier diversity best practices and connect firms with contracting opportunities. And so when
Mm-hmm.
an organization joins AEC Unites, in particular a Black owned or a minority owned firm, we work to really highlight their capabilities, and we do a whole marketing campaign around their capabilities and their markets and what a
Yeah.
potential business partner looks like to make sure that we're highlighting the work that they are capable of doing. And then we work to really curate connections based on projects or infrastructure projects that may be in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of the things I'm most excited about is our Opportunity Hub, which will be launching in June. And that is one central location where our members can log in and learn about all the projects that are in the pipeline. Also, outreach events. I see a ton of outreach events posted on LinkedIn, but we have one calendar that has all of the outreach events that our members can participate in.
Right. Oh,
Um,
that's so cool.
yeah, and so it's needed because if not, your business development team is spending a lot of time figuring out like what events are out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do we have the capabilities to bid on these projects? And so we want to make it really streamlined and super easy for our members.
Yeah.
And then the other side is talent, where we're building a pipeline and partnering with historical Black colleges and universities.
Mm.
We currently have two partnerships, one with Florida A&M and the second with Prairie View A&M.
Mm.
And so we meet regularly with the leadership about how we can support as an organization, whether that's through scholarships or internship opportunities. We formed a focus group with the students that are enrolled at those universities, but are in ACE centered majors,
Yeah.
and sat down with them and just had a very informal conversation about how can we support you and the work that you're doing. What are some of your challenges? And then from those very personal conversations with the faculty and with the students, we formed an MOU, which is our partnership agreement, and we have
Mm.
some very measurable deliverables to help bridge some of the disparities and some of the challenges that came from these conversations. And so
Right.
the HBCU piece is very important. And so we're also building out our internship program. We have a summer cohort program where we have several students coming through a series of summer professional development
Mm.
programming, more like soft skills on like resume
Okay.
writing and interviewing and navigating corporate America and those types of things. But really
Mm.
want to serve as an ally to really build the pipeline and several different pathways. I know right now our focus is on HBCUs,
Mm-hmm.
but as we evolve, we want to focus on, even the union programs or the pre-apprenticeship programs, the apprenticeship programs, and the other avenues that are also a pipeline to this industry.
Yeah. Right. Okay. Wow. So many avenues and streams for people to get resources, but
Mhm.
also like find resources themselves. So you like get your hands dirty and facilitate some of these connections, but you're also providing resources so people can go and get them when they need them.
Absolutely. And so
That's
ultimately
awesome.
our goal, Mariah, as it relates to talent is to serve as a premier resource for talent, right? And so
Yeah.
what the board has talked about is developing an app. And so
Mm.
right now, I know about a ton of resources, and I'm sure you do too, because we're in this space.
Mm-hmm.
I will say prior to me being in the construction industry, I wasn't as familiar with, what STEM programs are out there or what
Right.
welding or pre-apprenticeship programs or, how do I start an apprenticeship program? And so we want to develop this app that you can plug in your zip code, and any resources and your demographic will populate in this app. So anything related to ACE careers in this space.
Yeah.
And so we think that will be a great benefit for, parents and grandparents and guidance counselors and anyone who potentially could have a student interested in a career in this space.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's so amazing. I feel like for a lot of people, especially young people, like not knowing how to get started is most of the battle, right?
It
And
is.
so that's amazing. And when do you have like a launch date for the app, or
We
is that
don't. We're still in the
okay?
early stages right now. We're in the programming of trying to figure out what programs we're going to highlight in the app that are
Right.
aligned with our mission. So our goal for the app is 2026.
Okay.
But that is the ultimate strategic goal for AEC Unites, is to develop an app with resources for, and not just students, even returning citizens, right? Let's think about, someone who was coming out of prison and wants to turn their life around. What opportunities are out there. And like you said, it's all about knowing how to get started.
Yeah, exactly. That's amazing. You guys are busy over there.
We are. We are.
I love it. All right, moving along. I'm not sure if this question was in there originally, but what are some of the challenges you faced in your role, Tia? Or what the company overall faces as a
Yeah,
challenge?
I would say, like with any organization that's starting, it's just scaling. And, I hear this a lot from the minority businesses that we support, is just scaling opportunities. And we're a staff of 2 full time. And so we're all mostly volunteer led. And so some of the challenge is just like, I there's so much I want to do as the leader of this organization. And I just have to come to realization that, hey, it's a marathon and not a sprint.
True.
And it's not going to happen overnight or in year 1 or in year 2 in that matter. But
Right.
these milestones that we continue to plug away at are so very important. So I would say that. I also would say, I think in this political climate, a challenge is just the environment that we're in as it relates to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the dismantling of DEI. And, organizations were really supportive in 2020 and 2021. And, now, a lot of companies are wavering on their commitments and restructuring, and, the diversity leader is no longer there. And, they're trying to figure out what makes sense for them.
Right.
So I think that uncertainty and where we are politically is a challenge. But I will say that we're doubling down. The work has to continue, and we just have to figure out how to pivot and how to continue to do the work just in this political landscape.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I did think about how obviously the political landscape and current administrations and changing administrations kind of come into play. But yeah, I hope that's not a barrier forever for you guys, or for not too much longer for you guys.
The work continues, and I would even, it's a challenge. It's a challenge and a hurdle that we have to hop over and keep moving, right? It definitely makes it a little more challenging from a legal perspective, and just making sure that, like, oh, can we say that? Can we not say that?
Right.
And legal sign off on that type of thing. But as far as the mission and the work that we do, it hasn't changed. And I don't believe that it will, because it's important work, and we're here to stay.
Great. Awesome. I love it. Well, we're here to cheerlead you guys.
Yeah. Thank you. We need all the cheerleaders.
Of course. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, great. Oh, I was going to say, I would add, if you had any favorite stories or memorable moments or milestones from your career, but was it the event, the mixer?
Yeah, I would say the mixer was like a great, just to see those relationships, curated from connections from AEC Unites. And I know some of our members walked away with new relationships, new potential business partners. So that was a win. And just the networking and getting everyone together, and the energy was high. And, our members are super innovative and creative. And I will say, we represent a very diverse group. And so when I look at our membership makeup of AEC Unites, half of our members are small to mid-sized minority-owned businesses in the AEC space. But the other half are really big corporations like Turner and Clark and Mentorum and Jacobs, and all these big organizations. And so it's a very diverse group of organizations moving the needle forward. But I would
Yeah.
say one of my wins was definitely the mixer. And then the other one was probably some of our visits to some of the HBCUs
Mm.
and actually sitting down with the students and hearing from them and building relationships with them.
Yeah.
Um, and then it really being about action, right? So then like,
Right.
hey, we've had these conversations, but how do we turn this into like really making a difference and making an
Mm.
impact?
Yeah.
And then like the fostering the MOUs with the universities have been super rewarding as well. So I would say the mixer was
Hmm.
a career high for me, but
Yeah.
also the engagement with the students that are transitioning to this space, and serving as a thought leader and a support like
Hmm.
mechanism for them was also really rewarding.
I bet. Yeah, there's something so special about like working with students or people just getting their life started and people, who have a passion but no direction, and being able to aid in that is like something
It
so beautiful.
It is because I feel like it's everyone's responsibility. And so, we can leverage or I can leverage the network of AEC Unites and there's
Yeah.
tons of opportunities.
Hmm.
It's just identifying the challenge and finding the opportunity and then just bridging the gap. And so that
Yeah.
has been super rewarding for me.
Yeah, I bet you're a part of like so many people's stories that you have no idea about. Like, you know what I mean? That's like you're probably a hero to so many, and you're just casually wearing all these hats and going about your day.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the hero is, I that may be a stretch, but I will say, like, even before the HBCUs, like, I've always worked in the inner city schools of Washington, D.C. And so we have
Right.
two schools that I've worked with over the last 10, 15 years. And these students are also in this AEC career path. And so
Mm,
there's something about the workforce development piece of it that really feeds my soul, and I think it's
yeah.
really rewarding and um, by far my favorite part of the job.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That sounds so rewarding. That's amazing. Oh, thank you for all the work you do, Tia.
Thank you. I'm just getting started. I just try and do my part, right? Like
Hmm.
I'm no one's savior, right? But I do try and do my part and leverage like my network and the resources
Yeah.
that I have to really help folks. And so I encourage any of our listeners or anyone who gets, comes across this article, if you have someone interested in this space, and they don't have to be from a diverse background, but anyone interested in
Hmm.
like, how do I get started? Like, give me a call, shoot me an email. I work with tons of students and returning citizens and a bunch of folks,
Yeah.
to really help connect them with careers in this space.
Right. Oh, so amazing. I'm so excited to see like how far you guys go and how much we can amplify you. And that's just, yeah, like I was saying, the sky's the limit. This is so cool.
Yeah, we're just
Um,
getting started, but yeah, there's there's definitely a lot of work that needs to happen.
yeah, oh, totally. Awesome. Moving along. So, for companies that are looking to be more inclusive, or if they have a new DEI initiative, what's one concrete step you recommend that they take?
I would say just intentionality, right? I
Mm,
think a lot of folks get caught up, a lot of organizations, in just saying that they're doing it, right? And oh
right.
yeah, we're advancing DEI and we have this statement on our website and we have this pledge, and but is it integrated in every facet of your organization? And what I mean
Mm,
by that is it part of your safety culture? Like, are you guys really embodying a inclusive culture? Is it
yeah.
part of your workforce development plan to really serve and reach out to underserved communities? So when I think about advice would be just be intentional about it. Give it the support that it needs and the resources, whether that's a
Mm,
budget or a full-time person. Even in today's climate, you have to
mm,
rebrand, right? Because I see some rebranding,
yeah.
but continue to do the work. Um, and organizations like AEC Unites, and there's tons of others that are on the boots on the ground for this type of work will continue.
Hmm.
Support those organizations if you can, because now more than ever, we need your support
Yeah.
as an industry just to keep moving the needle forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it totally starts with the culture, and you're right. Like it's one thing to put something on your website or put something on social, but it's another thing to live by what you're saying. And
Absolutely. Like
mhm.
even in your hiring practices and your outreach, and it really should live beyond human resources. And I see a lot of companies have it, somewhat coupled or characterized under like HR,
Yeah.
and it's really much more than just HR. And so just be intentional with your impact,
Yeah.
and your resources, and join AEC Unites.
There we go. That's step 2.
Shameless plug.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. And my next question was, how can individuals and companies best support AEC Unites? So can they donate, or is partnering, or what are our options?
Yeah, so there's a couple of options. So for any individual who's listening that doesn't belong to a company or isn't part of an organization or think it may not be a good fit, right?
Mhm.
I just encourage you to just share, help us really amplify the work that we're doing, just like you all are doing, Mariah. And so help us amplify the work and share, follow us on social media and Instagram. But if you represent a large company and you have a dedication or a passion for advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion, particularly in minority communities, I invite you to check out our website, explore AEC Unites, consider joining.
Mhm.
And it isn't a transactional relationship. We really want companies to lean in. And so when an organization joins, we ask that you do volunteer on either the business or talent side of this, to really help us move our mission forward. And so joining would be top of mind. But if for any reason you can't join, share the work that we're doing. Help us spread the word, because we are so fairly new. A share or a retweet goes a very, very long way. So just appreciate any help in that area.
That's great. Yeah, makes sense. And speaking of volunteers, do you know what like your volunteer headcount looks like as of now, Tia?
Yeah, so the latest updates up on our website. So we have the business and talent committee. So we have a board of 10.
Okay.
And then we have the business committee. I believe there's 9 on the business committee.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there's probably about 7 or 8 on the talent side of it.
Okay. Great.
So we have, I would say, total about 25 leaders that either serve on the board, the business, or the talent committee.
Great. Very cool. And it only grows from here.
It only grows from here. It really does. It's a really rewarding, the work's really rewarding. And there's also a great network, because you really shake hands and, really start to develop relationships with the who's,
Yep.
And the supplier diversity leaders for these big prime contractors. And so there are great opportunities to, expand your network as well.
Yeah. Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people think that once they're established in their career, or once their company is off the ground, so to speak, like that's when the relationship building kind of stops. But it should always be changing and evolving and growing with the partnerships and the people you connect with.
I agree. I mean, the world's evolving, right? It changes constantly. And I don't think any leader can be stagnant or just okay with the relationships that we have. Like, I think I've heard somewhere like, your net worth is your network.
Yes, classic. Yeah.
And so it's like the networking piece is so important. And we do really help with those relationships and curating those connections, particularly for minority businesses, and just making sure they're aware of the projects that are in the pipeline and things like that. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Awesome. I got 3 more for you.
Okay.
So what do you see as the future of AEC Unites in DEI in the industry more broadly? What's the future looking like?
So I see the future as making an impact. Although we're already making an impact, right? But I see a bigger impact, right? And as it relates to AEC Unites, I really want, as an organization, for us to live up to our mission. And that's to really continuously provide intentional opportunities. Yeah. I would love to see an industry that looks like you and I, right? That has representation. I would love to see an industry that everyone has access to opportunities and the playing field is level. And so I think some are the goals that we wish to accomplish, that we're working towards accomplishing at AEC Unites. And so it looks like a level playing field. It looks like a very diverse industry. And yeah, I mean, that's what I think long-term our goals are, as an organization, for us to be a resource to really help scale Black-owned businesses that are in this space, and really diversify the talent pipeline, and have tons of partnerships with community organizations, and we really leave our mark. That's my goal as the leader of AEC Unites.
Yeah, I love it. And I can't wait until we get there.
Yes, me too. It's going to take some time, right? And I kind of
Yes.
pace myself and remind myself like it takes time. But
Yeah.
absolutely, I have been extremely proud of the accomplishments and early wins that we've had in year one and year two. I just want to build on that momentum
Yeah,
going forward.
absolutely. And you will. And it's so exciting.
Yes.
Um, awesome. And so, what advice would you give to a young Black professional looking to get into the AEC space?
Actually, great question. So there are tons of resources out there. We have a student resource, a talent resource center on our
Hmm.
website, and it has scholarships, or we're building out scholarships. Right now, it has internships, financial aid resources. There are a ton of resources available online.
Hmm.
I would say find a mentor. Start
Hmm.
by finding someone that is already in this space that can help you navigate.
Yeah.
If you're in high school, ACE Mentor is an amazing resource. There's a page on our website. They're one of our very first MOU partners. And
Hmm.
there are a ton of mentoring resources available in your area. Just plug in your zip code. So I would say find a mentor and really explore the opportunities that are in this space.
Hmm.
Give us a call. We can help. And if I can't help, I will redirect you to someone on our talent committee who can help you navigate this space and maybe serve as a mentor as well.
Hmm.
So, start with identifying a mentor. Check out our talent resource center online. There's tons of resources there.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean that would be the advice I would give to someone. Is just consider that every industry has there's misconceptions,
Yeah.
and I think oftentimes as it relates to construction, it's a dirty industry, and it's it's and we all have these misconceptions, but there's so
Yeah.
many opportunities that we just don't know about, and there's an innocent ignorance about the technology, the BIM, the innovation piece of this.
Hmm.
So just be open minded, keep working hard, and just utilize the resources that are out there, like
Yeah.
Google, AI. I mean, there's tons of resources out there.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. I love the mentor piece too because I feel like, a young person trying to get into the field, and if they don't see themselves represented in that field, like that might be discouraging, right? So I feel like
Yeah,
that's a great place to start.
yeah, it's hard. And so there is a call. We're actually trying to recruit more mentors of color
Mm,
because it is hard to see yourself in a space where just oftentimes no one looks like you. And
yeah.
so the mentoring piece and just having someone to serve as an ally and a mentor and help you navigate this space is a
Hmm.
game changer. I have so many mentors professionally and personally that has really helped me just in my, day to day. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, the mentoring piece is big for
I
sure.
love it. That's great. Awesome. And my last question was there anything else you wanted to share about the mission?
Anything
We've talked so much.
Yeah, we shared a lot in 45 minutes, didn't we?
Yeah.
I would say just that AEC Unites will continue to move the needle forward.
Hmm.
And I know that the political climate is challenging right now for a lot of organizations, particularly those who do federal work, and they're uncertain about, how to move forward. I would encourage them to join AEC Unites and support us and the work that we do.
Hmm.
We are impacting lives. We are supporting students. We are empowering and engaging and helping scale minority owned businesses. And the work's going to continue. So I would just say lean in and support and help us make the world a better place. As
I
cliche
love
as
it.
it sounds, but I mean, literally it is. Make
It's
the industry a better place.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfect. What a beautiful note to end on. Thank you so much for your time today, Tia. It was so wonderful to talk to you about AEC Unite's mission.
Thank you. I'm so excited, Mariah, to see the final. Yeah, so yes.